So she's dedicating her life to help others for others' benefit. Thank you so much for that. And that's why I'm so delighted to welcome her. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Coach Ambuja. Ambuja, please, uh, stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Jiband. Thank you, Avil, and to the entire team of Dubai Jobs Hunt, as well as Empowerment Talks. It's a pleasure and an honor for me today to be on this forum. And I come here with all humility, hoping that, I could be of some support and some help to each one of you. And I'm happy to hear from you, if at all that's something that you're looking for. But I'm equally excited to share some perspectives about career and especially job search and how we need to position ourselves in the job market.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming here to share your experience to help the job seekers in this group. Um, Actually, before we start, I have a few questions with you. Since
Sure.
our topic today is be a brand, not a product, right? And we are a human being, but not a product. So I would just like to know what was your thought behind this title?
So I was just thinking about how can someone really stand out in today's world of multiple choices, no matter what aspect of life you look at. So whether it's applying for a job, attending an interview, or just picking up your university, what stream of studies to study, what type of cars you buy. There's just so many choices in front of us. And I was just thinking, with all these choices, how does a candidate who wants to apply for a job and who wants to get noticed, what must he or she do? And if I use the HR jargon, not everybody would understand it. And I thought something on the lines of brand and product is something that even a small child would understand, right? So it's probably one thread of common communication across the spectrum of all functions, even within a corporate world. And that's why I thought that, talking in marketing language, saying don't be a product, but be a brand, is something that will really give the bigger message to people in a very simple way. And I'm happy to explain more as we go along.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Uh, what do you think? Why this is important to be a brand as a job seeker in a job seeker point of view?
Based on my experience and even as I meet with job seekers, very often, or in fact, more often than not, we get into the rut or that stereotype of a candidate, right? So here, we don't want to be a candidate. Where I'm coming from is, let's not be a product, let's be a brand. Let's not be just another candidate. So if you've got your CV, if you speak in the interview in a way that just another candidate speaks, um, you are just going to be one of the millions of candidates that are going to be seen, whether it's at the CV stage or at the interview stage or even at the selection stage. So how do you stand out? How do you really make a mark? And the only way to do that is, each one of us has come into this world. We've been born with certain unique abilities, unique attributes. Unless and until we share with the world and with the organization what our unique attributes are, we will never be able to stand out. If you've got a stereotyped CV, what makes me or any other talent acquisition person or the head of an organization or any hiring manager pick your CV? What is it that you need to do to make you stand out. And that's the key here.
You raised a very, very important point here that, when actually it's the same mistake I did as well. I was just sending my CV while I was looking for a job, and I used to attend interviews, and that mentality when you're thinking like, oh, desperately need a job, and in that case, you're not going to be in the same you're not going to be confident to express yourself properly, because you're in desperate a need kind of mentality. And now you're saying that, yeah, so one should stand out when it comes to CV, or when it comes to going for an interview. So yes, so brand, creating itself as a brand is important. So how one can create their brand? Would you please explain us?
Yes, yes, yes. So I think the first thing that we need to ask ourselves is, do we really know who we are? If you ask any marketing person, they will tell you that coming out with a brand or a brand name or the attributes to a brand requires a lot of brainstorming. So you need to keep asking yourself why, and why do you want to do a certain job? Why do you want to apply to a certain organization? Why should the organization pick you up, right? Why should someone pick up a Jiban versus thousands of other candidates? So that's the key thing. Know yourself first, know your unique abilities, your unique attributes first, and then look at it from the consumer's point of view or from a customer's point of view. What is the benefit that you can add if you are selected for that job, or if you are called for that interview? Because the product, if I look at it from a CV standpoint, so we'll go through all the stages, but starting from a CV standpoint, most CVs more or less look the same, prima facie, right? When someone like us in HR roles, we go through CVs day in and day out, all of them look more or less the same. So try to be a little different there. And the only way you can be different is by telling your story. And I can, I can share with you the overwhelming sort of feedback that I got after I launched my own entrepreneurship with this video. I don't talk about the roles that I've done. I don't talk about what my skill sets are. I don't talk about the different positions that I've held. But what I talk about is the emotional part. And this is my personal personal point of view, that when you hit on the emotions, and that's what the brand does, that's not what a product does. So if you look at a Coke and a Coke can, the can has all your ingredients, it's got all the features, but what the brand Coke does is it plays on your emotions. It talks about those special attributes and the benefit that the consumer or the customer gets by buying or by using the brand Coke. So that's the difference that you need to make. And there are a few key points that hopefully, as we go along, we can share with the rest of the audience as well. But this is what I want to communicate. Be different. Be different, not for the sake of being different, but be different in order to leave a lasting impact. Even if it's just a CV. Most hiring managers don't have more than 2 to 3 minutes to go through a CV, because they're going through several of them. So you need to be able to make that CV so catchy and so unique that the job or the hiring manager realizes that this is somebody special and puts it aside from the rest of the bundle that is on his desk. Or even, these days it's even worse, because you just need to scroll, even if it's on LinkedIn or whether your talent manager sent the CVs. So you just need to be able to make that impact within those first couple of minutes on the CV. And then, we will talk about the interview stage as well. But this is the first thing that one needs to do. Make sure your CV stands out. Make sure you tell your story in the CV, and look at what your inherent attributes are or your unique abilities are, rather than just listing out the responsibilities.
Wow, You raised really some good points. And what you mentioned that before when you making your CV, that ask yourself a question that do you know yourself? Because unless you don't know what are your capabilities are, you cannot decide that whether you're going to fit with that organization or not. What are the challenges your organization having and how you're going to solve that. And you have to be a person of value, and if you don't know that what is your value, you won't be able to express yourself confidently. And as you said, the story, you will not going to have that confidence, isn't it? Thank you so much for sharing that. I really feel grateful, and I wish now that when I was looking for a job at the mid of 2018, I would have known this. It would have been much easier for me that time. Yeah.
It's never too late, Sivan.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Let's say somebody who's this idea, somebody's listening for the first time, and yes, okay, he's working on himself. He worked on himself. He found out the story, and he's created his brand. But it doesn't stop there, isn't it? Like just like in marketing, you create a brand and you have to market that. So as a job seeker, how one can move ahead to market themselves? What is the right strategy for that?
First of all, even if we have discovered or uncovered our own brand, right? We it's very important to stay relevant. So what worked a few years ago will not work today, and we are all aware of that.
True.
Everything is going online, everything is going digital. So one of the things that I also recommend, just like we work with the brands, is keep rebranding yourself, as in keep evolving as a brand, right? So
True.
whether it's your CV on LinkedIn, your profile on LinkedIn, or your CV, or what you say in the interviews, don't keep it stagnant. So keep upskilling yourself, first of all, actually upskilling yourself to stay relevant. And secondly, make sure that it reflects in your profile, whether it's on LinkedIn or your CV. The second thing is there is no harm in reaching out directly to organizations. There are websites, there are job portals, there are talent acquisition managers that you can scout for on LinkedIn. And the power of networking. Never underestimate the power of networking. I know for a lot of people,
True.
this might push them outside their comfort zones to go out there and start networking. Again, networking can be done in different ways. You don't have to actually, go out there and give speeches or take everybody out for dinner. That's not necessarily networking. So third is be humble and don't hard sell. Please do not hard sell. This is the worst thing that you can do because hiring managers really get put off. If you send an email to them, the very first email with your very impactful branded CV, leave it at that, give them time to absorb that and get back to you. If you don't hear from them for the next few days, of course, you would have gone through a process if the job has actually been advertised. But if not, don't keep hounding them with emails and WhatsApp messages and LinkedIn messages. Give them that space because that's the worst thing that you can do. Once you've put off the hiring manager or even people in HR, then they're never going to come back to you. So that's through networking, yes, you can definitely market yourself. Last but not the least, during the process of hiring, recommendations normally comes at the final stage. But there are subtle ways of doing this through your network, right? If you know somebody who knows someone in the organization that you are attending an interview with, you can always give that person a heads up and say that, I've attended the interview. And in your interview, you can mention that I realize that, you happen to know this person and I've worked with this person in the past, or I know him as a family member. And trust me, 9 out of 10 hiring managers will pick up the phone soon after the interview to find out, okay, about you. So these are some of the tactics that you can use. But the one key point that I would say is do not hard sell. And even on your LinkedIn profile, very often you see people giving a long story in the headline. And again, this is a very, very important point. The headline on a LinkedIn profile can be so beautifully used to put your emotional image, right? Something more than what your CV usually talks about. So if you are probably a thinker, you're a writer, you're probably an empath. So put those as your headlines, not that you are the head of the department or you're a HR director. So those will automatically come. So that's one one thing that I've noticed that candidates make, which might not work for them. Secondly, I think in your CV, very often we even if you think about your own CV, I'm sure a lot of us here on today's session as well, we've either seen CVs or our own CVs say, I'm a passionate, results-oriented, good communicator, etc., etc. I've actually faced, candidates who have said this, and they couldn't even give me a good handshake. So where's the passion? What passion are you talking about on your CV? If you're saying results oriented, don't say results oriented if you really are not results oriented to start with. Yeah. Second, if you're results oriented, by staying results oriented, you're not going to make that impact versus actually giving quantitative examples. So give examples, give experiences that really demonstrate your abilities and demonstrate your competence, not just saying it. Okay. Like for instance, going back to the to the product. So don't just list out your ingredients. Don't just list out your features. Everybody knows that. One look at the CV and they can run through it. Give them enough information, just enough to tingle their curiosity on the CV. A lot of CVs are 10 pages long. A lot of CVs have everything that you've done in your job. Don't do that, because then the hiring manager has no reason to call you for an interview because he knows everything. Give them those, little teasers, little sweeteners that make them want to see you, that make them want to chat more to you and to get to know you more.
Wow. I absolutely agree with the point that to make CV like a teaser of a movie. I think I heard this somewhere. It says that your CV should not explain everything. Like if people are gonna see the movie like outside, why they're gonna call you for the interview, right? So your main movie should be for the interview and make your CV like a teaser. Thank you so much for reminding me that. What you shared about LinkedIn headline, I think I need to work on that as well. I'll definitely do that. I think yeah, I'm missing that one. Um, really great insights. Like right now, even in this situation, there are few jobs and there are more candidates. Definitely, we need to not need. I think we must stand out. To get the job, isn't it? If the getting job is the goal, then we must do whatever it takes. And having online presence, strong online presence, yes, that's absolutely true. Even in Facebook, Facebook, Instagram, wherever we are, LinkedIn. So we need to make sure that how we presenting ourselves even there, because HR professional, they're checking everywhere, isn't it? What kind of person we are. They just don't want to know what skills we have, but what kind of person we are as well. So thank you so much for highlighting that. And the CV, definitely that is so true, that we have to make our CV as a movie of the teaser, so people will be like, wow, I want to know more. Let's call that person for the interview.
And Jivan, I want to just add, thank you. I just want to add there that it's very important to also maintain consistency. What you say in your CV, what you say on your LinkedIn profile, what you say in the interview, what your recommendations talk about you should all be consistent, right? Don't say one thing in the CV and say something else in the interview. And when you talk brand, when you think brand at every stage of your job search. And remember, it goes way beyond just your CV. It's like we said, it's your LinkedIn profile, it's your other social media profiles, it's your recommendations, and and it's also the interview itself. A lot of times I've asked candidates, so who are you? Trust me, 9 out of 10 times people really struggle to answer that question. And that's why I started off this session saying, understand who you are first. Or if someone asks you in an interview, tell me your story, you should be able to tell your story, not list out all the responsibilities and the tasks that you had. Tell them your story. Okay, who is Juban? Who am I?
True. I just remember one case when the first interview I did was in 2008 for my first job, and the second interview I attended was 2018. And on that time, the way we make CV and the way we the way interviews taken is totally different. Seriously, I was not prepared properly with a behavioral question, so I just froze. In my first question, when you say, "Tell me about yourself," I was like, "Okay, what I'm gonna say?" And that is so important. It just comes back again and again. Do you know who you are? Isn't it?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much. But this is there are a lot of things. It's been so wonderful, guys. I hope you're taking notes because this is gonna be so beneficial. I'm myself taking notes as well. Uh, definitely, see, the branding is something new for a lot of people, by the way. And the people we have here in the group, some people are most of people are in Dubai and India as well, and a lot of people even don't know how to do their CV. So when it comes to talk, making your brand, definitely, people gonna do mistakes because
Yes.
sometimes we overdo it, and sometimes we underdo it. So what do you think? What are the mistake people do when they're creating their brand? That would be great if you highlight it.
Right. Good question. First of all, in fact, I just put up a post yesterday or the day before yesterday on this. Do not fill out a CV template. A CV template does no justice to you, who you are. So long as you use the CV template just as a guide, you're still okay, right? You can use templates, but don't simply fill up the template and go, okay, here's my CV. Use it as a guide. And like we discussed before, the first couple of lines should be catchy enough for the hiring manager to be interested in continuing to read it. Trust me, these days, all of us are so used to scrolling, right? We just don't have the patience. We just don't have the patience. So how do you grab that attention?
Yeah.
In social media, you can do paid ads, but not on your CV. So you need to put those golden words at the start of your CV in order for the hiring manager or anybody in HR, talent acquisition, etc., to be interested enough and curious enough to go down. Second, I would say, do not just talk about your tasks and responsibilities. Any experienced hiring manager would know what a procurement specialist would probably do, or would know what a marketing manager would do. So those should occupy, definitely you need to put that down. Do not undermine the features of a product is what I also say. You are, first a brand, but also equally important is the brand, where is the product. So you do have to write your tasks and responsibilities, but you don't have to write, an entire page on that. Make that a small part, but focus more on what have you achieved in that role. So every role of yours, apart from the tasks and responsibilities, try to talk about what is the impact you made, what was your direct contribution in that role. When you talk up on your CV saying I'm results oriented, saying results oriented is only half as effective as actually putting the numbers or quantifying the results that you've actually achieved. And that's what you should do in your achievements. So that's again another place where you can let your unique, your inherent strengths speak for themselves. That's the other one. Do not spend, if you're an experienced person and if your CV is already 2 to 3 pages long, don't, waste that space putting down your date of birth, putting down your address in your home country, putting down the name of the college and the school and, all of that. Nobody really, is worried about that at the first stage, especially at the first stage, sometimes even at the last stage. But at the first stage, no one wants to know that. People want to know what is the value that you can bring to that job and what is the value that you can bring to the organization. So these are things that one does. I want to also touch on a very crucial point over here as we speak today. We have one industry experts. A lot of us have worked only in one industry, right? So you've got the banking guys, you've got the hotel industry or the entertainment guys, you've got FMCG. Now, unfortunately, some of these industries have either gone belly up or they are just going downhill for reasons beyond our control, right? We know airline industry, for example, has been hit hard. Hotel industry has been hit hard. Banking industry, financial sector in certain countries and economies have been hit in such a way that a lot of people have lost jobs. So recently I was, helping someone hire for a position in the healthcare industry, and every single applicant that came by, of course, I didn't post the job, I just used my network, but every single job applicant was from the banking industry. And I said to myself, wow, because these guys, the poor guys have lost their jobs and they're just applying to any job. But unfortunately, and this is a real crucial piece of, I think, information people need to remember. A lot of them, when I spoke to them, they were so dejected, they were so confused, they were so insecure and unsure. Why? And each and every one of the guys that I spoke to, of course, we had a couple of discussions on how they could change the CV. But what I want to share with you here is, this is where the brand works and not, and focusing on the product will not work. So a banker, for example, who's got 8 years of just banking industry experience, he hasn't had anything else. Today, there are not enough jobs in the banking industry. What does he do? Does he stay jobless for the rest of his life or wait for the banking industry to come up? No, he doesn't. And he need not, because he brings more than just that banking industry experience. He brings a lot more than just the relationship manager experience. He brings what a Juban's attributes are. What is Juban good at? All of us have got some inherent strengths. We've built certain experiences. We've got a lot of, for example, things that we may not have had in the past, but we've learned from the banking industry. So talk about those experiences. Don't go there for an interview with a very, confused mind, and you're already setting yourself down by saying, okay, I've just got the banking experience. And if you have a CV that says, I worked in HSBC for 8 years and this is what I did, and you apply for a healthcare job, why would anyone even look at that CV? But if you spoke about who you are and also had the banking industry experience, but from that experience, how you can impact this healthcare job, why not? Because again, 85% of hiring managers have reported that hiring decisions, they have made hiring decisions, and I'm one of them, because of the brand or the impact that the candidate has made, rather than their actual performance in an interview from a job, from a technical standpoint. So for those guys who are one industry experts, don't lose heart. Market yourself, brand yourself. Just use your experience, that industry experience, in order to turn it around to make an impact in any industry, When I was passing out of my MBA college, I remember one of the professors saying, if you can sell a watch, you can sell just about anything. So the same thing should apply to us. If we can do one job, we can do the other another job, because we're not successful in the job because the job is, good. We're successful in the job because of who we are.
Yeah, great example of transferable skills. Like you said, if you can sell a watch, you can sell everything. It just the product is different, isn't it? But the technique what applies there, will be the same everywhere, isn't it? And with
Correct.
some, I think if we think a little bit, we have to we can come up how we can blend in or how we can as you said, like with a twist, or we can think and say, realize that okay, how can I use my this industry's experience to another industry. As you said, there are a lot of industry that has hit hard, and there are low opportunity in that one as well. Thank you so much, guys. Yes, please note down and stay focused. Great. So, I just want to ask you, yeah, until now we just talked about being a brand. Let's say, how does a product mentality looks like, and how not to be a product?
I'll try to give you a very concise answer because I think I've spoken a lot in the, in response to your previous questions. A brand communicates an aspiration. A brand communicates, makes a promise. A product does not. Does that make sense? So that's the
Yes,
difference.
yes, good. Yeah. Because when you present yourself, a brand always has a high value, and people will know when they see it, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great.
What do you stand for?
Yeah. So, are there any challenges while building a personal brand?
There'll definitely be challenges. There's definitely challenges. You know, some people are very good at it even without knowing that that they're actually doing it.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of times I feel that it comes just so naturally to them. But some of us are not that good at it. So the first thing, like I said, a lot of us haven't paid attention to who we really are. I think that's something that's a reflection that everybody should make, and it helps to do that every now and then to really ask yourself, what do you stand for? What is it that makes you really unique? What's special? So the challenges is people are not used to reflection. They're not used to they're not used to spending time on themselves to start with. Second, reflecting on yourself and asking yourself what is it that you stand for. Not everybody can answer on their own. So my again sincere advice is, guys, be honest to yourself, not only on your CVs and in the interviews, but be honest to yourself. And if you're struggling, seek help, seek support. There are a lot of people who will be willing to support. There are a lot of people who are very good at this. At the end of the day, it's still going to be your story, not their story, but they will only help you uncover it. So even the perception of a CV or what people need to say in the interview, it's again somehow I think becomes stereotyped because of these concepts of, okay, here's a template, here's what you do, here's what you don't do. It's not as easy as that, because if I talk to you and for the same job, I would give you a completely different advice than what I would give Avel, because Avel is Avel and Juban is Juban, right? So it has to
True.
be personalized, and that's why if you can't do it on your own, which is you're the expert, you know yourself the best. But if you can't do it, seek support, seek help. There's no harm in doing that. Um, Again, when you're creating a brand, sometimes the challenge is that you tend to keep get very tempted to go back to putting down your features. I've got this award, I've got that, I've done this, I've done that. Great. But try to dig a little deeper and see, what's the meaning behind it. So these are some of the challenges I think that people could have. I'm not saying everybody will have. Like I said, some people are naturally, blessed with that ability to do that. But I think the other challenge I'm just thinking is maybe people don't even realize that they are a great brand, each one of us. So it's just that confidence to be able to talk about yourself. That confidence also can be a challenge to some people.
So true. I think it goes again to the how you started. That do you know yourself, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes,
reflection time with yourself, knowing yourself, asking questions, who are you, what are your values, and that's amazing. And asking for help, definitely. There are a lot of time we tend to just stop. If we cannot do it, we just stop, right? Like we are, as a the way jobs hunt, and volunteer, all the volunteers are here to help you. All you have to do, ask for help. Ask for help. It says that ask and it shall given. So when you ask, you get it, but you're not going to get it until you ask, isn't it? So the main
absolutely.
thing is always that reflection time. Ask who you are, what value you have. Wow, amazing point. Amazing. So could you throw some light that how it's approachable from a candidate point of view? Uh,
From a candidate point of view, in terms of the branding, Japan?
yes.
Yeah, so I think from a candidate perspective as well, so long as your CV is impactful, and for that you need to do some homework. You can't come out with a good impactful CV that stands out from the bunch of CVs very easily. You've got to spend some concerted time on it. You've got to do that reflection. Once you've done that and you've got your foot in that door, even in your interview as a candidate, try to take the opportunity and try to see where you can tell your story, right? If there's a technical, if it's a functional or a technical interview, or even if the hiring manager asks you very technical questions, then absolutely talk about the technical. I mean, give them technical responses. And if for those of you who have attended panel interviews, you will realize that in a panel there will always be one guy who's only focusing on the numbers, right? And then there's somebody else who will focus on the softer part. So make sure that you get the opportunity, you seize the opportunities wherever you can to also throw that, your essence. What is your essence? If you can try to reflect that, because the hiring managers or the interviewers may not necessarily ask you. So, what is it that you can add to the organization? What are your values? They may not ask you straightforward questions, but if you are conscious of that and if you're aware of that, go prepared and seize the opportunity to always project that. Again, as a candidate, when when the company asks you for recommendations, make sure that people who recommend you also talk about the Jaban in you and not the fact that, okay, he worked with me for 5 years and this is what he did. No, all that is already done and dusted. Yeah. You've said it on your CV, you've said it in the interview, they've done their own research. So all that is something that they've already covered. But let your recommendations, let your people who are giving testimonials or recommendations also do the same thing for you. And this is what we said when we said, maintain consistency. So as a candidate, if you do that, if you have your story, I can bet you that you're already there halfway from a confidence standpoint, because nobody else knows your story. Only you know your story.
Yes, true,
Again, as a
true, true.
candidate, yeah, again, as a candidate, it really helps if you do some research and homework on the organization and try to talk about the link between your personal values, what you personally stand for, and what the organization stands for. That really hits home to any interviewer.
Great, great, great. Yeah, definitely we should think about that. What value we have, what kind of person we are, is that match with the company value or what they're looking for, isn't it? Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
throwing that insight.
Yeah.
Um, you have worked as an HR in multinational companies, and I would like to know from HR point of view, what different does it make or make uh, the branding? What made the difference in make on a hiring decision?
From an HR person's point of view, we want good talent, no doubt. Now, good is a very big term, right? What is good? But I can tell you, people look, or hiring managers, especially HR, we look for people with the right attitude. We always say, hire for attitude, train for skills. Skills can be trained. If the person has an average, a decent level of intelligence, you can teach them anything. But attitude is something that cannot be taught. So this is something that I've always looked for as I've interviewed. I can also share with you one example. In fact, I'm not sure if he's on this because he promised to come on this session, but just one example, right? I mean, as you keep meeting people, you go through different experiences. But there was this one candidate that when I had traveled for some interviews, I had seen this CV, and the CV many years ago, this is almost about 18 years ago, was in color. He had put a very nice sort of format and a font. It really stood out. I met him with absolutely no job in mind. I just met him. I just wanted to know, who is this person? He had applied for the job, but I knew he's not going to fit the bill over there. But I met the guy, and there was no job vacancy or requirement at all. I flew back to Dubai, and the guy had left such a lasting impression on me just because of what he spoke about, his essence, what he stood for, what was the value add that he gave to his team, the organization, and what he would add if at all we took him. It left such a lasting impression. I came back to Dubai and I spoke to the head of the organization and I said, come what may, I want him in the organization. We need to create a job for him. And trust me, we created a job for him. We brought him here. He was a hard negotiator, but we managed to get him here. He worked with us for 5 years. Today, he's the global vice president for some German airline technical company, right?
Wow.
Just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking. In fact, I had forgotten this entire incident. He reminded me. So this is the power of making an impact and leaving a lasting impression. People might forget the way something tasted, but they will never, forget how it made them feel.
Wow. The more I'm talking to you, I got to, everything what I did mistake while I was looking for a job is just coming back to my mind. One thing you said very, very powerful, and what we as a job seeker don't know, that hire for attitude, train for skills. So true, because what we do unknowingly, that we prepare ourselves, we just prepare our skills, we just keep on adding our skills. But wow, this is one of the mistakes I did, I guess, when I was looking for a job. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for highlighting this.
You're welcome.
I have a last question
Sure.
to you from my side, and then we'll go for the audience. I know it sounds a little bit funny, but this is what I heard a lot from some people, and there are people, I think this question will be the answer to this question will be insightful for them. How important the grooming etiquette is for the branding?
Absolutely important. It goes without saying. It goes without saying. Yeah. Would you let me think, how can I put it? Would you go for a product? It's about the packaging, right? If I talk in marketing terms again, it's about how you package it. Yeah. How do you package yourself? You show up for an interview with black shoes, yellow socks. And trust me, I've met such candidates. So, you're going for a director level position and you turn up with yellow striped socks. Well, I mean, he might not lose a job because of that, but it does leave an impression. So you start wondering, okay, some quirkiness is definitely there. So packaging is equivalent to grooming when it comes to presenting yourself. It's your image. It's the image that you want to create. Yeah. So it's absolutely important. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to look like a model. That's not what I'm saying. You just need to dress up, well. You need to have the right mindset. That's equally important because it shows up. You need to understand the culture of the organization when you go for an interview. When you go for a face-to-face interview, especially, you need to study the culture of the organization, because sometimes you could come out. It's always better to go overdressed, as in, smart coat, suit, whatever you want, rather than going underdressed. So study the culture of the organization. What do they want? Like, for example, in pharmaceuticals, in the pharmaceutical industry, you cannot go for an interview with anything short of a full suit. If you go into a food industry interview, it's still okay. You can wear a jacket and a t-shirt, but it goes also beyond just just the clothes. But yes, I mean, you need to have had a good sleep, so you don't turn up there with bloodshot red eyes. Make sure that your mindset, your confidence, the pictures on your CV, even if you're on a Zoom call these days. I know a lot of candidates take the trouble of at least wearing a jacket, etc., but some don't. So make sure that you present yourself, because again, like I said, it's all about the packaging. You would definitely pick, if you go on a shelf of any product, the packaging makes so much of a difference. That's the first thing that attracts the person reaching out for that product.
Absolutely, it's making first impression, isn't it?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Muza, for replying, giving answer of my question. Now like I myself also, I'm realizing that what are the mistake I did. So guys, please take note and work on it. So you're not gonna do the same mistake I did. So so more you practice now, it will be more easy for you to for an interview or while you're doing your CV. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna move to the question of the audience. So Sushma, if there's anything, please let me know. While we're talking, I saw a question popped up, says that while we talked about CV's length, what do you think, in your point of view, what is the standard, like a page supposed to be? Like, how many pages is supposed to be?
Well, there's no standard, because it also depends on your seniority. When you've got 15, 20 years of experience, sometimes it's very difficult to package it in 2 pages. So two to three is max, I would say. But if you can manage it in 2, you've aced it. It shouldn't go beyond 3. If you're going beyond 3, then you're asking people to read a encyclopedia, and no one has the time. Nobody has the time.
True. Thank you. Dr. Namila Daud asks, if you can explain more on tell your story on a CV.
Sure. Yeah. So I think a little earlier we discussed about how not to focus on just what your tasks and responsibilities were. Talk about your achievements, right? Talk about your achievements at every stage of your career, with every job that you put on your CV. Talk about the impact that you made on the job, the impact that you made on your team members. They talk about those success stories that you've had, where you've done something different, where you've gone out of your way to take on a special responsibility or a project. So these speak your story. These tell the hiring manager or whoever's going through your CV that, okay, here's a person who rises to the occasion, who's very hardworking, who takes it more than just a job, but also as a responsibility. So when it comes to job experiences, that's where you can tell your story. When it comes to the initial part of the CV, where you're talking about your profile in a gist or your career objective, there again, don't talk about the cliche. Don't use the cliche terms. Like I said, like I'm passionate. All of us are passionate. We all have our passions. So say something that will really trigger the person, the reader, to ask, this is something different. Let me go on. So this is how you bring your story out in the CV. Now, CV, is just to get you, to get your foot in that door. Your interview will be another opportunity, or and also probably an even better opportunity for you to tell your story. But in the CV, these are some of the critical areas that you can use to tell your story. And you don't have to say that this is my story on your CV, at least, But trust me, I have seen some very creative CVs, very, very creative CVs. There was one, to our participant today who's asking this question. In one of my earlier jobs, there was one CV, this was almost 20 years ago, where the person actually claimed their personal status. Okay, the personal status, and this is what I refer to even in my video, because of which every company was turning them down. I thought to myself, if somebody has the courage to talk about their personal status and document it on a CV and share it in public, I have to meet this person. We met the person despite resistance. We hired the person. That person is in the head office overseas today, holding the senior most position for that department after 22 years in the company.
Amazing, amazing.
So amazing. all she did was, make that one sentence which broke the routine.
I don't know. I felt a little bit emotional when I heard that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Nabila has one more question, and I've seen that in LinkedIn. We have a logo, a green logo, open, yes. Open to work. So does that make people stand out? Because most of the people doing
unfortunately, look, I think initially it did. But unfortunately, and I'm saying it with with real modesty here, unfortunately, so many of us are without jobs today. So even that's become a common thing. But don't take it off. Don't take it off, because I think that's a very quick win that you've got. That's a quick signal or sign for people to say, okay, this is someone that I can approach. If any of the hiring managers are on LinkedIn, it's a good, smart way of, saying that, yes, I'm available for jobs. So don't take it out, but don't rely just on
that. Thank you so much, Ambuja, for addressing that. Dr. Nabila, I hope this answers your question. Let me go through the question, just a minute. There's one interesting question from Devika, that how to make effective CV yet successfully the passed by ATS.
Sorry, Juban, I didn't understand. So how to make a successful CV?
How to make a effective CV yet successfully passed by ATS.
What is ATS?
Applicant tracking system.
Oh, okay. See, this is exactly what I said. Do not use such templates. Now, there are some companies, some organizations which will send you templates, which is fine. That's the reason why they do that, is to streamline their process of screening and to make their filtering process a little easier. So the trick here is to use keywords, use your buzzwords, study the job description, study what they're looking for in terms of the organization, their values, the job, the responsibilities for the job, the competencies that they're looking for, and use those buzzwords. Because what happens is when you use such systems, it picks up, there's an algorithm again, right? So it picks up on those buzzwords, and that's how you get past the filtering stage.
Yeah, thank you so much. Devika, I think this answers your question. One question I want to take from the chat box right now, who Rita has raised a very nice question. How the gap has impacted on getting job? Some people have a longer period of unemployment, somebody like 8 months, 1 year or something. How that will impact and how we can overcome this challenge?
Well, I would go back to my personal belief of telling your story. What did you do during those 8 months? How did you spend your time during those 8 months? I know a lot of, a lot of you guys, for example, you're spending so much time on doing this fantastic voluntary, service. Maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's not even something that you want to write home about. Maybe it's not anything great, but use those, use that gap period to also tell your story. What happened to you in your previous job? Why did you end up in that situation where you were not working? While you were not working, what is it that you did to, enhance yourself, upskill yourself, give back, support someone? I don't know. I mean, it could be anything, or even pursue another interest of yours. I know a lot of people who have tried their hand at business, for example. Now you can use that to your advantage and say, I always had this burning desire to be an entrepreneur. I used these 8 months to take that leap of faith, and I tried being an entrepreneur. But I think I've tasted it, I've tried it out, and I realized that that wasn't my cup of tea. Okay, and I'm back in on the job market. However, I feel proud, and see, this is where it goes. It's how you speak about yourself, and you can say that this entrepreneurial stint that I did may not have been successful for me, but I feel happy and I feel proud of myself that I took that leap of faith, that I pursued my dream, that I gave it a shot, that I tried. So anyone hearing you will say, okay, the guy at least had the courage to do that. He is someone who will take risks. He will be someone who will accept failures. So it just depends, how you'll have to turn that gap into your strength. Don't be bogged down by, don't tell yourself that, oh shit, I didn't work for 8 months, now this is going to be a negative point. No, it's not. It's not. Especially in the last couple of years, this is something that everybody goes through. There's no harm. There was a point in time where people would feel very insecure and embarrassed to say, I was let go of, or I was made redundant. Today, it's a very acceptable thing because everybody's aware that, this is something that can happen to anybody.
Good, yeah. There's one question on the chat box. Magic trainer. This is a little bit of a funny question, I would say. Should you take a portfolio of your achievements to an interview? Should you take a portfolio or I think different portfolio of your achievements to an interview?
Absolutely, depending on what industry and what job. So if you're going for anything to do in the field of marketing, for sure, definitely take it. If you're doing anything in the space of social media, marketing, etc., again, take it. If you're doing anything in the creative field, take it. Don't take your portfolio if you're going for a sales interview. Nobody wants to see. I mean, see, a portfolio is basically, again, the portfolio. If you have a portfolio, fantastic, and that portfolio is either directly what you've created, or it's a pictorial representation of what you've created, right? So it depends. If it's appropriate for the industry and for the job that you're applying, I would absolutely say, please take your portfolio, even if they haven't asked you to come with that. And this impresses the hiring managers. This really impresses the hiring managers. I myself have hired marketing guys who suddenly say, do you want to take a look at my portfolio? And for people with a bent of mind in marketing, it's definitely very interesting. But it also shows that you've come prepared for the interview and you're proud of showing your achievements. So please take it.
Wow, good. Just a minute.
Should I go ahead and ask the question from the chat box?
Yes, I have it. Just a minute.
Okay.
Prasad says, is attitude related to mindset? How can one improve the attitude, make a powerful impact on other person?
Okay. Who was this who asked? Prasad.
Pra, yes, Prasad.
Prasad, yeah. Prasad, I'll have to have coffee with you to discuss this. Because this is a vast topic and something that that is very close to my heart. But let me give it a shot to be, concise here. Yes, attitude definitely stems from mindset. At the same time, it's not something that's cast in stone. A mindset can always be changed. In our world of development and improvement, we have, something called the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. But even here, the human brain keeps toggling between the two. So it's absolutely normal. Sometimes we're in a fixed mindset, sometimes we're in a growth mindset. But attitudes definitely come from a mindset. Mindset is set based on your personal experiences. And like I said, I mean, it's a huge topic. So sorry, Prasad, I won't be able to. I don't think I'll have the time to go through it in detail. But if I was able to answer even a bit to your question.
Yeah. Wow. Prasad not only got his answer, but got invitation for the coffee as well with you. He must be feeling so lucky right now. Yeah. There's also a question on chat box. Sujit Menon says, how does one plan a career change in a job if the current job is not overwhelming?
Sorry, Jaban, could you please repeat?
How does one can plan a career change in a job if a current job is not overwhelming? Means changing a job.
So how can one change a job if one is not one's job is not overwhelming?
Overwhelming, yeah. So
maybe we could ask Sujit to explain a little more and give him a couple of minutes. We can move on to the next question because I'm not understanding the question.
Sujit, Sushma, can we unmute Sujit so he can ask this question?
Sure. Sujit, you must have received a prompt, so please unmute yourself and ask the question. Sujit, are you there?
Yes, okay. Yes. Hi, good evening.
Hi,
what I wanted to check was that if there is a person, I sometimes get, some of my friends who would like to change their careers because the jobs that they're currently doing are not satisfying to them, or they would like to, their skills are not being currently fully utilized.
Mm-hmm. And your question is, what do they do?
What are the things to be done in order to move on to a different career? What are the things that one should plan, or what is the things they should do in order to move to a different career path or choose different career options?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So I think the firstly, I would actually congratulate these guys for at least recognizing the fact that what they're doing is not something that really matches their skill sets or their interests. So that's definitely a positive sign. What they need to do is they need to again spend some time introspecting. What is it? If this is not what they're enjoying or not something that's speaking to their interest, then what is it that they want to pursue? What is it that they want to pursue? And I mean, it goes a lot beyond by just asking yourself and changing your CV, but it's also, for example, if I don't know if this is the right example to you address your question, but say, for example, a salesperson wants to come into marketing, right? So if he has realized that, okay, he's done with sales, this is not really speaking to his ability or his competence of being creative. I'm just taking one of the competencies here. So his creativity is not being utilized enough. So he needs to look at what are the opportunities within that creative field that he could apply for, where he could be happy, and then accordingly fine tune his application, whether it's a CV, whether it's the jobs that he's applied, whether it's the network that he's, trying to make to get these breaks, and accordingly also mention and state that on the CV that, okay, currently I'm doing a sales job. However, I do want to make a career change. Sometimes when you do this, you have to be open to taking a step back sometimes. If it's within the same organization, a lot of organizations are willing to take that risk on an existing or a current employee, as compared to a new organization giving you a change of, your career from one function to the other. So your first go-to place should be your current organization, assuming that you're happy otherwise. Try with your current organization, speak to them, speak to your manager, speak to your HR to say, this is a job that I'm not really enjoying. I think I can add more value to the organization if I did a marketing job or whatever it may be, and try with the current organization. If not, then yes, you will have to probably sometimes take a step back, because organizations may not be willing to take that risk on a candidate that they don't yet know. So be prepared for that. If you're in a managerial level, don't expect a new organization to give you an opportunity in a brand new career and at the same level of salary or the same level of the responsibilities. So this is how you would start, at least, and then it depends on how you network, how you push yourself into the streamline of getting yourself exposed to more opportunities. What could also help is if you have done anything that speaks to your future interest, may not be in the job. So I know of people who are in a certain job, but in their free time or as a project, they've done something else which really speaks to their interest. Highlight those. Okay. And in order to also build or start building your career in the new path, what you could also ask your current employers to get yourself involved in any projects of that, of the new department. So being a part of a project, you learn a lot, as well as it's an opportunity for that department to see what your strengths are and how you can add value to them. I hope that at least partially answers your question, Sujit.
Definitely, I'm definitely sure that you answered the question. Thank you, Ambuja, for coming here and the answering, coming with this amazing idea, giving us really important insights. I'm so thankful for that. And right now, I would like to say goodbye to our YouTube audience. We'll definitely see you next time. And here right now with what I want to say to our audience is, like, anybody has definitely we can go on and on, because this is so interesting topic she's sharing, but we have to take care of the time boundaries. And anybody has any questions, you can reach out to her. She's available in every platform. She's in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Her website is there. You can go there and reach out to her for any more information you need.
Absolutely. I will be happy to hear from you. And when you write, please just quote this session, either put Dubai Job Summit or Empowerment Talks, because again, there's just so many messages these days. It's a little difficult to filter, but I will prioritize each and every one on this session. And my last words for all of you is, remember, be Coke, not just another can of Coke.
Wow, amazing. Right now, I would like to invite my colleague Sushma to express our gratitude on behalf of Dubai Jobs Hunt and Empowerment Talk for accepting our invitation and sharing this amazing insight to help our team of job seekers. Sushma, please.
Okay. I don't want to end this session currently, but since we all have time constraints,